So today I'd like to welcome Ty Spearing from Ultimate Windows. Welcome, Ty.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it.
So if you could just start off by giving us a brief introduction into your business and what it is that you actually do.
Sure. I own and run a company called Ultimate Windows. We specialise in uPVC double glazed residential windows for homes. Started the business in my father actually started making windows in 2001. I moved up home again in 2005. Before that, in 2003, we just we lived about 15 k's out of town. We'd get the capital truck to drive down the 3k driveway, fashioned a little forklift thing off the tractor that we had out there, and just made the windows with a drop saw at the back of the farm shed there, and got a local glazier in to glaze the windows. So that's where it all sort of started off.
Right. Wow.
And since then we have done commercial windows, aluminium windows, double glazed, and we always wanted to focus on energy efficient windows. So we decided sort of 12 odd years ago that we'd really just do double glazing well before it was sort of commonplace. And about 7 or 8 years ago now, we started to do uPVC windows. So the outer frames PVC, really, really popular product in Europe. It has 70% of the residential windows sold are uPVC, and the same again in North America. But we're just a bit slow to catch on in Australia. And I suppose the real benefit of a PVC window is the bang for buck energy efficiency versus cost. So it's a really energy efficient window with a lower cost compared to, say, your thermally broken or a timber window. So we love the product and starting to expand from there.
Fantastic. Well done. And what sort of geographic area are you covering?
So we only manufacture in Wodonga. West Wodonga, we've got actually 4 factories in a yard we operate from with how we've grown. So love to consolidate that in the near future into a much bigger factory, but we'll get there. So all our manufacturing is Wodonga. We have install sales staff based in Wodonga as well. And we also have install and sales staff and a showroom in Melbourne and also in Canberra.
Right. Okay. So, and then what geographic area do your customers come from? What's the area that you actually service?
Sure. Well, we cover most of Victoria. So over the far west, we don't do too many jobs, but sort of central to all of East Victoria, New South Wales up to Sydney, and certainly a lot in the ACT as well. We do some very specific doors. They're called a Magna line door, which is a little bit different to a bifold door, and we're the only manufacturers of those in Australia. So we have sent those all over Australia as well.
Fantastic. Wow. So you've mentioned, so you've been in business since 2005. Did I get that correct?
We started the business in 2005.
Yep. So tell us about your journey since that time. What's been some of the, I guess, the key elements that you could recall that, hey, really helped you along that journey?
Sure. It was certainly up and down. GFC, that sort of thing, not long after we started. So certainly had some real difficult times at the beginning there. And then when you've got a small business and you're just starting out, it's always a battle. A big thing for us was very early days. I think 2008, 2009, we put up a display at the Home Ideas Centre up in Canberra because we were manufacturing a thermally broken aluminium system, which really good quality system, but it was very pricey. So the options around Wodonga at the time weren't great. So there weren't anybody manufacturing this style of window in Canberra. So we really pushed up there, and that opened up a whole new market for us, which was fantastic. So that was a really big push, a big area. So then we started manufacturing just a standard aluminium window system to expand the range, and then we got introduced through a reseller up there to manufacture PVC. And I'd spent the best part of 10 years bagging PVC out to anyone who'd listen. And she actually said, well, if you can get the machines and you can make it, I can give you work. And I thought, well, you don't turn down work. So looked and found an old secondhand machine down in Tassie
Yep.
an old welder. And so we brought that up from Tassie, and it had sparks and steam and all sorts of stuff flying out of it when we first plugged it in, and ended up getting it fixed. It took us about 6 goes with different sparkies and all the rest of it, but we ended up getting working. And the more we manufactured this stuff, the more we realized this is actually really easy to make. It's really energy efficient. And then going through costing wise, it's just energy ratings are so high compared to the cost compared to your thermally broken aluminium system. So yeah, we manufactured that for another couple of years, and that's when we thought, right, we've got to really, if we're going to do something, we've got to do it properly, get rid of this old terrible welder. And then we spent the best part of $1 million putting in a fully automated line to manufacture the PVC system from start to finish. So we've still got that. We did that about 6 years ago now.
Yep.
Put that in, so that's still running strong. And at that stage, we're only manufacturing from the one shed, and we're now, as I said before, we've now got 4 sheds that we manufacture from, and it's basically just increased our capacity and expanded from basically set up our own shop in Canberra, and then one down in Melbourne as well.
Right. Wow. So what would you say the biggest challenge is that you've had to face through that time?
Lots of different challenges. Yeah, there was times when we only had 3 or 4 staff, and the jobs had just dried up. I was having phone calls from window companies in Melbourne saying, please, can you take some staff? I don't want to sack them, but we've got no work. And yeah, around that 2010, 2011 sort of time frame, where I can still remember some of the jobs where if we didn't get that job, you were just knife edge as whether the business was going to continue on.
Right.
Yeah, just driving up to Canberra, sleeping in the van, and just going around to builders and just harassing them until they give us a job. And finally, there was a few that, yeah, you'd get a few through, and yeah, there's some pretty rough patches over the years, but just got to keep pushing. And yeah, it's certainly turned around over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, so it hasn't been all beer and skittles then?
Definitely not. No, you don't go in business for 18 years and it's all beer and skittles, that's for sure. You don't have hair too often, but yeah.
So what did you learn about yourself during those challenging times, Ty?
I suppose how hard you could push yourself too. So yeah, you really wanted to get the business. My aim for the business was to get it to a point where I could take a step back, and that's really only happened in the last sort of 12 months or so. That we've got great managers here, great teams in Melbourne and Canberra. So I'm actually not having to get up. I spent the best part of 12 years getting up at 3:30 every day, just so I could get a good block of work in before the factory staff come in at 7, and you go do a delivery and you'd have 5 change of clothes. You do your delivery, you go get a fluoro on, you go to someone's house, do some maintenance, you go put a shirt on, go visit an architect, go dress down a little bit more, visit a builder, and then you drive home from Canberra after that. And there were sometimes 18-hour days, but you just had to sort of push through, and knew that at the end of the day, you were going to get there, you were going to build a business that could support itself and sustain itself. And yeah, we got there in the end. Yeah,
so I guess what you're talking about there is, you know, that self-belief, knowing that you could do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, I suppose you've only got the 2 options. You either do it or you fall over. So yeah, and I was determined that that wasn't going to happen. So yeah, it's certainly up and downs, but got there.
Oh, look, and you know, I've heard it many times, and I've probably even applied this myself. Failure isn't an option.
No.
So, okay. What's the biggest challenge that you're actually facing in business right now then?
Now, over the last sort of couple of years, certainly since all the lockdowns and everything have happened, has been staffing and just attracting staff and attracting good people.
Yes.
Throughout sort of not this time last year, probably May last year, we would put an ad on Seek, and normally we'd get 60 applicants, 70 applicants, and May last year we would have 6 applicants, and they were just certainly no one you would employ. So it was a really, really hard time. We had a whole heap of people having a week off, or probably a bit longer than that, where they had to have their time away and all that sort of stuff with the lockdowns and all those sorts of things. So Erin and I would come in on a Saturday, for the 5 or 6 staff that we had actually working in the factory, we'd have to pick all the material and then load it all back up, and just so we could have the staff that did turn up during the week actually get through. So
Right. Yeah.
our lead times just completely blew out during that time, which was really hard. And a lot of builders that we've had and we've sort of worked with for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, they were really frustrated because where we'd say it'd be a 4-week or a 6-week lead time, we're out to 6 months. And it was just really tough. We didn't know how many staff were actually going to turn up. So we couldn't say, right, oh, yeah, it'll be 2 months or it'll be 6 weeks. And then knowing full well it probably is 6 months, we don't like to lie to the customers. We don't like to sort of just fudge the truth. If they're going to be cranky with us before or after, we'd prefer them to be cranky with us before. We'll be upfront and just say, this is where we think it is. So that's been a big challenge.
A great philosophy.
Yeah, well, we hope so, and yeah, I think builders at the end of the day do appreciate it. But yeah, it was certainly a trying time there, but it has improved over the last 6 months. It's started to pick up again.
Oh, that's great news. How do you keep yourself inspired on a daily basis?
Daily basis, I suppose I've always had goals and things that I want to achieve. Not so much your 2-year, 5-year, 10-year plan, all those types of things. So it's more about what I want the business to look like, what I want to have in terms of I want to get to the point where we are now, where I don't have to get in before 7 o'clock. We have our morning meetings. I can talk to the guys. I can then finish in time to pick the kids up from school and go take them to their sport and all those sorts of things. So that was a real goal for me to get to this point. It's, well, when you've got a business and you've got a lot of staff to keep everyone ticking along, it's not really hard to get motivated, I don't think, Phil. It's just something that constantly evolves, and where you want to take the business to the next step too. They're the exciting things and the challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just thinking about that inspiration, the motivation, do you have any favourite quotes or sayings that you follow that really inspire you?
Not so much quotes or sayings individually, but I do. One of the first business books I ever read was Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I like to sort of go back to that as often as I can, and just reread and just refresh yourself as to why you're doing these things. The things like Simon Sinek, Start With Why, those types of things, and even The Strangest Secret, Earl Nightingale, from the 50s or 60s. I try to put that on every month, and just it's just a good little, I suppose, reminder. Sit in the car, you can listen to it, and okay, I've got to do that, and I've got to do that. You can sort of meander off the path a little bit, and that sort of centralise my thinking.
Yeah. No, look, it's so important, and some of those old books are still great books.
Yeah.
Just recently at our global conference in Phuket, one of the coaches was telling us a story about how he's read Think Big and Grow Rich.
Yep.
I think he said he'd read it 20 times, and then somebody who really understands the book said, "Now, have you really read it properly?"
Yeah.
And which was a bit of an eye-opener for him. And he said once she taught him what it was that he needed to be taking away from the book, he said his world changed.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another great book that it was one of the first ones I read. And for something that's set so long ago, how it still can be 100% relevant now.
Exactly.
Apart from a few mentions of resume writing and typewriters and those things, everything else, the concepts are just still so relevant.
The days we love to forget.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were going to start your business again, Ty, what would you do differently the next time round?
Great question. I kind of think I took a lot of huge risks when I think back on it, but in a sense, I could probably have even taken even more. And got the business to the point where it is now even sooner. So I suppose, looking at it at the time, heart's in your mouth, you're sweating and all the rest of it. Think, am I doing the right thing here? Am I doing the right thing here? But really, I suppose just backing yourself every sort of step of the way and just, right, got to make this decision. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done. Every time we've done that, my wife and I, it's worked out. So
Yes.
just probably, making those decisions 12 months earlier, 2 years earlier, those sorts of things. Probably, get there in 10 years or 12 years instead of 18.
Yeah, and having the confidence to actually follow it through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Have you got any other words of wisdom that you'd like to share with anybody that's watching the video?
Wisdom. All right. Don't sort of see myself as something like that, but really, I suppose, for if you're in business, and what I've learned and what sort of touched on is that no matter how hard it can get, and I know there's a lot of hard times for particularly builders and those types of things at the moment, is that it can just be that one job that'll get you through for the next week or the next month or the next however many months or whatever it might be. But if you just hustle and get past that time, that you can build a business into anything down the track. So as you say, there's no choice here. You can't fail. So you just got to keep on pushing and it'll get through it.
Yeah. So having clarity of your vision, because I think you've mentioned that a few times, is you know where you want to go, you know what it is that you want to achieve.
Yep.
And not losing sight of that then.
Exactly. Yep.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much for your time today, Ty.
Thank you.
I wish you well and look forward to catching up again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Phil.
All right. Thanks, Ty. Bye now.